What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Red Zone Sports. This is our showdown show for Monday Night Football. We got Bills, we got Denver, we've got an exciting slate. I personally have been on a nice little run here with Showdown, taking down a couple of took down one last Thursday, second place last night. So let's kind of hop into it and we'll kind of walk through it here. So again, really, most of my Showdown content, I don't play. Number one is, I'll just say that I don't play the largest rooms possible. I try and pay up in the like $15 to $50 single entry 3 max range. The contest that came in last night, top prize was only $800, but we're only, $20 3 max to get into it. So you're more than 10xing your money, which is just fine with me, right? Especially on a showdown slate. There's so much variance that, in my opinion, unless you're maxing out and doing 150 max, there's no real reason to hop into the larger rooms, right? I would be more than happy with taking down, consistently finishing top 5 in the $20 3 max than, trying to do anything else. There's some larger contests that I'll dabble in here and there, but I'll really try to stick to, 10 entries max. Just so that way I'm not getting, out advantaged by somebody who's going to be putting in 150 lineups. So with that being said, let's take a look tonight. So the last 2 showdowns have been pretty bad. It's something interesting to look at this year because on the primetime slates, if you will, the over and under is actually the 24-7. And trending to the under. So what that means on a lot of these slates is that you're probably going to have more kicker action, right? More field goals. So the reason why I bring that up is it seems to me still that people are so scared to roster kickers. I mean, I don't think that you need to put a kicker in a captain spot. I tried it last night with Zerline. It did okay. That lineup cashed. But my one that came in second place didn't have that. The one where you can kind of get different. And again, this slate is tough for that. But when you have a slate with 2 bad quarterbacks, I'm fine just not playing them at all. Now, we don't have bad quarterbacks on this slate. So what we're going to use the kickers for here, and look, some of our kickers are a little bit priced up. We've got Tyler Bass for the Bills at $5,200 and Will Lutz at $4,600. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to employ the same tactics that I've used on these last few showdowns. But it doesn't mean that we should stop accessing the kickers to get some leverage, right? I would much rather play a kicker. Let's go. Tyler Bass is at $5,200. Let's pull up the rosters here for everybody. Bear with me for a second. Oh, my thing. So let's see who our guys. So like Jaleel McLaughlin, right, is at $2,600. I would rather find them $2,000 to go up to Will Lutz at $4,600 because it's such a specific game flow that a guy like McLaughlin could get in there. Same thing with like a Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims at $3,800. Could he pop one? Yeah, sure. He definitely could. The more consistent point total, though, is going to come from a guy like a kicker, right? So that's really what we want to take a look at. I'm just going to take a quick, I think we're okay on weather, but let me take a quick glance at what we're looking at for the weather in Buffalo tonight. Everything looks fine. It's going to be in like the especially if we're talking about kickers, it's going to be a little bit windy. We're looking at 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. So that's definitely something to consider when we're talking about kickers. So let's start at the top here. So we've got some very high priced guys. Josh Allen's at 12,600. Diggs is at 12,000. James Cook is at 10,000. Then we have our first Denver player in Russell Wilson, 9,400. Dalton Kincaid, way up there at 8,400. Gabe Davis at 74. We got Javonte at 72. Sutton at 7,000. Judy at 6,800. And then we drop down to Tyler Bass, kicker at 5,200. Will Lutz at 4,600. Khalil Shakir, who I think is one of the best values on this slate at 4,400. He is basically been cemented pretty good for the wide receiver 3 in that offense. Really, though, Kincaid's getting so much work. He is the de facto wide receiver, quote unquote, 3 behind Gabe Davis. You then got McLaughlin, Latavius Murray, and then we start getting real cheap down here. We've got little Marvin Humphrey. Dawson Knox is on the IR. Buffalo basically has nobody. We've got Deontay Hardy and then Adam Troutman. I think those are 2 guys if we're looking to really go down for value at the Stone Min at 200. Those guys are actually my favorite guys to kind of get to tonight. But again, it's going to be tough if we want to jam in a lot of these higher priced guys because they're so expensive. So if we take a look at spots to get, Russell Wilson for a quarterback is actually at a very, 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 very fair price. He's only at 9,400. We have about 10 to 12% leverage for him. I think he's a pretty solid captain. But also the flex ownership is only at about 36%. And he's showing up in the optimal about 44% of the time. So look, he's a guy that I think that we need to prioritize in getting into the lineups tonight. We all think that, Buffalo's probably going to win this game, but Buffalo's defense has not been great. So I think that the Broncos are gonna do a pretty good job of moving the ball. They have a good offensive coordinator, head coach, Sean Payton. They've got most of their guys pretty healthy. So I like it. I like getting to quite a bit of Russell Wilson. I think that Stephon Diggs, obviously, very interesting. He, to me, looks like a better play in the flex. His captain ownership is going to be up around 23%. Josh Allen looks like he's going to be the highest owned captain with, obvious, that makes a ton of sense. But I think that James Cook can be really sneaky here. They've been kind of splitting it up a little bit recently. Look, we're playing Showdown. We're trying to get leverage on people. For $10,000, that's a lot for a guy like James Cook who hasn't been getting all the carries. Then they have Latavius Murray, and then they sign Uncle Lenny. But look, those guys aren't gonna play as much. And if this turns into a situation where Buffalo's needing to score points and kind of keep pace, if Denver's scoring a little bit, I like James Cook a lot in that passing role, right? And there's nobody really else who's in that role, so I think that's really interesting. He's looking at a decent amount of positive leverage. I think that Cortland Sutton and Javonte Williams are 2 of my favorite plays tonight. They're really, 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 they're really just too cheap. I mean, Cortland Sutton, for the amount of volume that he's getting, should be a lot higher owned. I think that Cortland Sutton is actually a really sneaky captain tonight. And I think captaining a guy like Cortland Sutton will allow you access to go play some of these other guys, right? So it's kind of tough to, jam Josh Allen in the captain spot and then really, really like a lot of your other spots, right? if we just do the exercise where if we put Josh Allen in the captain spot, the rest of your players, you have an average salary at about $6,200, right? But if you put Sutton in at the captain spot, now you've got an average remaining of $7,900. We start talking a little bit about the kickers. Let's put our kickers in there. We'll go with a double kicker. Now we have an average remaining salary of $9,900. I want to make sure that I get Russell Wilson paired up, but now I can play Josh Allen, no problem. And then get to, whoever you want to after that. If you want to leave a little bit of money on the table, you can do that. If you guys want to go with a little bit riskier guy like Gabe Davis, you can do that, right? So putting a guy like Sutton at the captain spot really just gives you a whole lot of flexibility. If you particularly think that Judy is the guy, you could do that. I prefer Sutton just because he's kind of hogging the target share. If you are playing in a larger single entry, I think that putting a guy like Marvin Mims in the captain spot makes a lot of sense. Not a lot of people are going to do it. You're accessing, from Mims at 5,700 in the captains. I mean, you really just need, hardly anybody's going to play him in the captain spot. And less than 1%, I would think, but he's actually showing up in the optimals at the captain like 2 to 3% of the time. Now I know that's not a lot, but if you're playing in a large field, like a 10,000, 20,000 person single entry tournament, or if I don't suggest this, but if you're chucking 2 or 3 lineups into the millie, this is the type of play that you have to make, a play that nobody else is going to make. A play that somebody who's going to be generating, 150 lineups and jamming all those in isn't necessarily going to get to, right? So, putting a guy like Mims in, having Russell Wilson, having Sutton, you could just kind of start playing whoever the hell you want to at that point, right? You could throw in Diggs, and then, jamming Allen and Diggs tonight, guys, it's going to be really, really hard. Really, really hard. It's one of those things that I think it's just going to be kind of tough to do, and I don't really think that you're going to like your lineup a whole lot if you do it, but we'll kind of mess around with some of those a little bit more. But I like Marvin Mims right here. He's showing a really good positive leverage. He's popping up in the flex position about 10% more of the time, 9 to 10% more than is actually being owned tonight. So that's kind of what leads me there. We get to our cheap. Dalton Kincaid is an interesting play for me. Just because his price, I think it really hurts where he's showing up in the optimals, but you can get to there. Khalil Shakir, I think, is an interesting pay down option. I'm fine with playing him. At 200, looks like he's definitely carrying some ownership, not showing up in the optimals a whole bunch. Where is Deontay Hardy? I think Deontay Hardy is definitely my preferred option. The Bills actually use this guy, and they will design some plays specifically for him. So if I'm looking at Deontay Hardy at 200 and then Adam Troutman at 200, one's going to be 30% owned. One's going to be, 1% owned, which I find that hard to believe, but that's okay. That's what I'm going to take every single time, right? Again, the kickers at, 19 and 18% projected ownership. I think that, that's perfectly fine to get to on a showdown slate. I'm going to be playing plenty of kickers tonight. So to kind of recap here, I like Josh. If you're going to play Josh Allen, I think you need to play him in the captain spot. He's showing positive captain leverage at about it looks like he's negative there, but he's still where I would prefer to play him as a captain. I like Russell Wilson at captain, Cortland Sutton, James Cook. And if you really want a punt captain, I think that the best option to go with is probably going to be a guy like Marvin Mims. Could get you 0. Could get you a lot more. Gabe Davis is somebody I'm always going to play. He's the ultimate showdown play. He could have 3 points. He could have 30. It just really depends on, the way things go. So tonight, I have no interest in playing any of the defenses tonight. That's just a no thank you. I don't really play a lot of defenses personally on Showdown Slate. I would much rather play the kicker. I think they present a bigger upside for, getting you 9+ points, let's say. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at for week 10 here. So go get them. If we're going all the way cheap, again, I prefer Hardy over Troutman, but I think either of those guys is fine. You're going to get significantly less ownership on Hardy and just kind of get over some people on the field on that as well. Again, thank you guys so much. It's been a blast. Good luck tonight. As always, follow us on X at JJ McIntosh, at Notorious BJL, and at Joey Props. Comment, like, click. Tell me who your favorite captain is in the YouTube comments. Would love to see kind of where you guys are going tonight. Hit me up on Twitter at JJ McIntosh, or I'm sorry, it's X now. Everyone's just going to keep calling it Twitter, but that's fine. All right, everybody, have a good night. Good luck. Peace.